Hello and welcome back to yet another toy unboxing advent calendar entry. Today we're going to be taking a look at a series that is not Transformers, but that is full of a bunch of badass armored warriors. Namely, the Mandalorian. That's right, we're going to be looking at some Black Series Mandalorian figures today. And we're going to be starting off with the third guy in the set, the third wheel in the group of Koska Reeves and Bo-Katan Kryze. Axe Woves. That's right, he finally got a figure, and now we're going to crack him open. There's really nothing to this guy other than he is the Mandalorian character that isn't played by Sasha Banks or Katie Sackhoff. But yeah, he kind of just stands there and takes up space, and let's be honest, in a conflict, you always need people who can just stand there and take up space, because that is a war for you. So let's get him out of the box, take a look at his various Mandalorian stuff, and as you can see, there's not really a lot here. We have just the base body. Let's just take a close-up at this face. It's your standard Hasbro face paint and tech here. You know, he's got a little bit of a 5 o'clock shadow. There's a little bit of a scar up here. Actually, that's pretty cool. Yeah, he's got just a little bit of scarring and just battle damage. You can tell he's been through some stuff. Just turning off the flash there, you can really see there just that level of detail. And yeah, and he's got armor that is all scuffed up. I mean, you can tell it's all just painted on scuffs, but I mean, It's a fairly standard Mandalorian body buck as well. Again, it uses the same things that we've seen on all these other Star Wars figures I've talked about, in that the shoulder armor is on its own rotating hinge inside of the torso there. He does not really have... Yeah, he doesn't really have any butterfly joints or whatever, but I think that's more just because of the way he's done with the soft rubber upper body armor here, which again, this is fairly standard for Mandalorians. He doesn't really have huge amount of range of motion in the elbows. It's just single jointed ones. He's got the wrist swivels. He's got the inward outward bend on one hand and then the up down on his gun hand. Yeah, Mandalorian computer stuff there. Yeah, he's got his jetpack port on the back. Yeah, swivel here. The fairly standard Hasbro necks. And yeah, and for legs, we have the expanding bits down here. Decent range of motion in the legs. Though these don't come down like the Classified Series ones do. It looks like it's just like a fixed bar in there. Yeah, again, we have single jointed knees like we've seen on a lot of the Star Wars stuff there. We have a swivel up here, which is very well hidden by the thigh armor. I quite like that. And no, I guess it's hip armor, isn't it? Yeah. But yeah, and then, yeah, we have the standard ankle rockers and ankle joints, which again, this is a fairly standard Mandalorian release. I've bought enough Mandalorian figures at this point to basically know the drill. I guess one thing that differentiates him as well is his belt. He does have a belt, and he has some under chest armor here as well that is molded onto the same piece. That's not necessarily a common thing with Mandalorians, but I guess it just makes it his own. Jetpack, pretty standard Mandalorian jetpack. I don't think there's much variety in those compared to, say, like the Death Watch jetpacks. I have a bunch of the Death Watch guys. So yeah, so that just plugs onto his back like that. He's got a little dinky pistol here. Nothing really fancy. And yeah, let's just put it in his hand so that he can use it. Or of course, we can always just put it in his holster back here, but then he's got no guns. And last but not least, what's a Mandalorian without his helmet? And his is, yeah, again, it is very generic Mandalorian warrior. I am honestly unsure if this is meant to be off-center here. It's entirely possible that that is part of the actual design, but it is not even on the actual body of the helmet, as you can see. Like, it is definitely at an angle. Again, and he does have a viewfinder on his helmet as well, which isn't necessarily on all of them. And slapping the helmet on, this is a very loose helmet, probably just a case of he has a thinner face. And I'm pretty sure that this Mandalorian helmet is a fairly standard piece. But yeah, it really comes off super easily. It's a little bit oversized for his head. And with it on, yeah, he is a Mandalorian warrior. There's nothing really fancy about him, I suppose. Like, yeah, you basically get him just to be the third wheel in your group of Mandalorians. However, if Axe Woves is the third wheel, this next figure I'm unboxing could be said to be the big cheese. That's right, it is. The director himself, Jon Favreau, in Mandalorian armor. It is the Paz Vizsla body that they did for the Season 1 Mandalorian figures, except it's the Celebration version that has the head resculpted there so that it's got a Jon Favreau head and a removable helmet. Otherwise, it's the same mold as the pre-existing Toys R Us exclusive in Canada and Target, I think, in the US, Paz Vizsla release. Paz Vizsla, of course, has a long history and was voiced by Jon Favreau in the show, which is what inspired this whole deco here. Favreau originated pre-Vizsla in Star Wars The Clone Wars, who was Paz's ancestor. And so they had Favreau voice him in the actual Mandalorian series. We have not yet seen Paz unmasked, but that is entirely because of him being like a fundamentalist Death Watch member. Like, Paz is one of those guys who is very much the Mandalorians should always have their helmets on, yada yada yada. As you can notice as well, this is a later release that is done with the newer open box initiatives that Hasbro has going, which, yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of them. I mean, it makes unboxing this guy a lot more visually interesting, I won't lie. But, you know what? I think that overall, moving to plastic-free packaging, much as it's decent for the environment and all that stuff, it is kind of a result. Yeah. And we've still got to liberate this up here. So let's go in and liberate the flamethrower jetpack. Alright, so now that we've got all of his parts out of the box, let's take a look at Paz himself. Again, let's take a look first of all at that head sculpt of his, that Jon Favreau head sculpt. He's got a fairly black head of hair. I don't know how accurate that is to Favreau, but I do appreciate that there is a decent amount of, there is some silver in the beard. It's a lighter beard. It is, representative of how the director looks these days compared to, say, the Happy Hogan figure that they did for the Marvel 10th Anniversary releases, which was Favreau before he grew the beard. Turning off the flash, yeah, you can see it is a pretty good likeness there of Jon Favreau, the director. And yeah, and it is the Paz Vizsla body. It is a very beefy Mandalorian body. So on this one here, he does have his shoulder pads on the actual forearm themselves, on account of it being a different sculpt. And range of motion's not the greatest, just because of that. But he does actually have a little bit of a butterfly joint, if you notice here. A little bit of a butterfly joint. We've got the standard double ball jointed waist. Range of motion on this thing doesn't seem super great. It seems more up and down than side to side, the way it's built. Is there a waist joint? There was no waist joint in here. So yeah, the limitations here are probably just more of a weird thing with just me. Oh yeah, he does have a little bit of waist motion, but it's not the greatest amount. Yeah, let's see, moving the legs out, decent range of motion in the legs. They don't have the up-down thing that classified figures have, but he does have this back skirt, which does block the leg articulation a little bit. Not that you're generally bending legs back that direction. He doesn't have pinless joints, but he does have double jointed joints here. So that's good. Like, this is a mold that came out before, all of Hasbro stuff started moving pinless. He only has 90-degree range of motion here at the forearms. He has, a ball joint there right above the elbow, and he's got just standard swivels here. There is up and down to his hands, but the up, down, and even the side to side is very limited by just the Mandalorian armor kibble here. So it doesn't actually do all that much. What else do we have here? Yeah, he's got the standard, the standard Hasbro ankles. That's very standard ankle stuff here. And yeah, and we have the swivels up here as well, too. Die swivels. But, yeah. Let's take a look here at his accessories. He doesn't come with a lot, but then the original Paz Vizsla didn't either. The big thing he comes with, though, is his jetpack, which is also a flamethrower. Well, sorry, it's not a flamethrower, it's just like a minigun. He's got a giant minigun cable attached to this thing. And I still have a thing I need to remove there. But yeah, minigun cable comes around. Can hold the minigun there in... It's a two-handed minigun. So yeah, there is a bunch of handles on this thing to actually hold it. And he's got like the flamethrower as well, too. I do appreciate that swing. Yeah, that swings out there for him to hold it there. And then there is a little bar on the back for him to hold it on this side. And I'm not sure what the appropriate way is for the cables, but I assume it is meant to go this way. So let's get this thing on, and there. Now the director has a minigun. Be careful. The director has a minigun. Of course, we also have Paz Vizsla's trademark Mandalorian helmet. Again, it's based off the show design. The original toy had this just sculpted onto his head without it being removable. But now it very much is removable and just slots over Jon Favreau's head. It doesn't go on overly tightly. That's not a bad thing. It means it's easy enough to get off. But once it's on, yeah, no, it looks pretty good. It looks nice and solid, but I mean, let's be honest here. If you're buying this toy, you're not buying it because you want to slap it under a helmet. You already bought the toy for that. You are buying it because you want to show off the director of The Mandalorian with the freaking minigun. So in summation, yeah, we have a couple of Mandalorian warriors here, Axe Woves and Jon Favreau as Paz Vizsla. They both look pretty good, and odds are we probably won't ever actually see Favreau in the armor, considering the nature of his Death Watch cult, and they're never taking off their helmets. But hey, it's a cool visual that we can actually get this here. And they will make fine additions to the vast array of Mandalorians that I am slowly but surely cramming onto my Star Wars shelves with not much room to put on there. So, until the next video, this is General Techno signing off.